Hi, it's Lauren with LaurenTeachesFlute.com and welcome to today's tutorial. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to play dynamics on the flute for beginners. So I did a video on dynamics a while back, but this video is going to be geared towards an introduction, more basic, simplified version of that. So it's more geared towards beginners. So first we'll cover the basics of what dynamics are. Like I said before, dynamics are kind of changing the volume that we're playing at to go from playing softly to playing more strong and full. So in music we refer to soft playing as piano, and we notate playing piano or softly with a P symbol. And to play strong, we refer to this in music as playing forte, and we notate this in music with an F symbol. So in order to play from piano to forte back down to piano, we can't just use slow air, then fast air, then slow air, because if we do that without changing anything here, the pitch is going to fluctuate greatly. So it's going to go very sharp and then it's going to dip down to go flat at the very end, like this. So as you can hear, it got very shrill, bright, kind of overblown, and then it dipped down at the very end. So what we need to do dynamics properly on the flute is we need to adjust things here accordingly so that the pitch stays the same all the way throughout. So to play soft on the flute, all we need to do is bring our lips forward, use a smaller aperture, so kind of push your index finger forward. So you'll notice the corners of the lips go towards the center, and the center of the lips push forward. And then the opening of the lips will be very small and round. And we'll want to use cool air. So as if you're kind of have soup on a spoon, like hot soup, and you're cooling it off, you'd want to blow on it like this. You wouldn't want to go because then it would spill everywhere. So keep that in mind. That's kind of what you want to do when you're playing softly. It's kind of a slow, cool air with a very small, focused aperture for that laser beam kind of stream of air. So it sounds like this. And then to play forte, all we'll need to do is use hot, warm air and angle the air down more, like a 45-degree angle, depending on what note you're playing, but I'm playing C in the staff right now, so maybe like 45-degree angle. Hot, fast air, use a larger aperture shape, and also drop your jaw and make room in the mouth for more sound. So when we put the two together, you can see my lips moving to adjust to make sure that the pitch stays steady throughout. So that's basically it. It's probably going to be easier said than done when you're first starting to work on dynamics on the flute. But I think, since this is a lot, I'm gonna break it down, and I think it's helpful to do this in your own practice. So some things you can do to break it down. Number one is to only work on the soft playing for a while, and then only work on the strong playing. Don't kind of string the two together just yet, just try them as two separate things. Once you feel comfortable with that, the next thing you can try is pitch bending. So don't do anything with your airspeed, just focus on moving your lips, say from soft to loud position, but don't move your airspeed, and it's going to go flat, but it's more of a lip exercise than anything else, so you would do something like this. So you can hear the pitch going down, and make sure your nose stays in the same place when you do this. Don't look down, just keep it in one position, you're just dropping your jaw. And the next thing you can do is go from the low to the high pitch bending. So start with your jaw dropped and then bring your airstream up. And finally, you can try piano to forte to piano without changing the airspeed. So it's going to just be a pitch bending exercise. So once you're comfortable with all the pitch bending, go ahead and start playing around with the airspeed. So you can break the airspeed down into little approachable exercises as well. So you can do only going from piano to forte. Try just getting your air faster and faster and faster to see if you can increase the volume of the air and create more and more space in the mouth to adjust the pitch. So again, you're not rolling in, you're not covering, you're just opening up and making a little more space in the mouth to make sure that the pitch stays steady. Likewise, you can try this from forte to piano. And then finally, of course, you would try the piano to forte back down to piano. So when adding the airspeed, you might find that you don't need to use as much flexibility as when you were pitch bending, because you can get really extreme with the lip flexibility. The lips can just really move around a lot. But depending on how fast your air is, you might just have to drop the jaw a little bit, and that would be more than enough for now. So in the beginning, you might not have a huge dynamic range, and that's totally okay. But you might just experiment with, lips forward at the beginning and drop your jaw slightly. That might be enough. You might not have to do anything too crazy or different. So it might look something like this. So it's not too crazy like you might do in a pitch bending exercise, where I'm moving a whole lot more. So really quickly, I'm going to go over 5 common problems, pitfalls, that might come up as you're starting to work on dynamics and the kind of exercises that I shared in this video. So pitfall number 1 is you might notice if you're going from forte to piano that the sound just goes away really quickly. There's like no in between, it just goes away. So it might sound something like this. Like that. So the reason this might be happening is because the top lip is not dominant. So we need to keep the top lip dominant throughout any volume of playing the flute, because if we're not angling the air down, with the top lip, then the air's not hitting the flute. The air's just going up here and it's not even making any contact with the flute. So make sure your lips aren't glued against your teeth, but that the top lip is kind of down and out, like there's cushion between the top lip and the teeth. So I'm going to demonstrate really quickly, close up in the camera, what I mean by this, first incorrectly and then with the top lip cushioning. So this is lips pressed against teeth. So my air is literally just going up totally away from the flute. Now with the cushioning, top lip kind of out here. Pitfall number 2, as you're starting to work on dynamics and embouchure control when transitioning from one volume to another, is to make sure that you're not doing this. You're not looking down or looking up. So if you play loud and you're looking at the tuner and you notice that your pitch is going up and it's sharp, don't do this. And when you go to play soft, don't do this. So make sure your nose is staying in the same place through this exercise, and it's your mouth and your jaw and your embouchure that's doing what it needs to do to adjust. So troubleshooting tip number 3 is to mind your aperture. So make sure your aperture is doing what it needs to be doing when going between piano to forte to piano and so on. So for example, if you play a very soft piano with a small aperture that's forward, and then you drop everything, you drop your jaw and everything to play forte and you speed up your air, you might actually get the high note out if you don't widen your aperture enough. So it might look something like this. So my aperture didn't adjust. Now I'm going to widen my aperture, as opposed to where I'm keeping the same aperture. Pitfall number 4 is to be careful that you're not locking your jaw at any point during the process of practicing anything on the flute. So it can be very tempting, especially when going from forte to piano, to lock the jaw up, and you can hear the tension in the sound. So this is what that sounds like. So it's very tempting if you get your aperture more forward and a smaller aperture that you want to tense the jaw. So keep the jaw loose and free to move around for an easier, more effortless kind of sound. And finally, pitfall number 5 is you might find it difficult when going from forte to piano to keep the pitch up at the end on the piano. So this is definitely one that I feel like takes time and getting used to moving from forte to piano, but here's some things that can help with that. So much like in my 3rd tip, make sure that your aperture is actually getting smaller when you go from forte to piano. So you might have that wide aperture on a forte low note, and if you move to piano, don't keep it wide, make sure it's coming forward and getting smaller and smaller. I kind of like to imagine like a Chinese finger trap. It's getting smaller and smaller as you, I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's sometimes what I like to think about. My 2nd tip is to kind of imagine your flute going this way and have your jaw follow it. Of course, you're going to have to pull your top lip out further and further just so that you can keep the sound aiming into the flute. But your jaw will have more room to come forward the further forward your top lip goes, if that makes any sense. Just imagine the flute lifting up and away and see if that helps with keeping the pitch up at the ends of your diminuendos. So I think that's about it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe below for more tutorials like this one, and comment below if you have any other ideas or things that help you with your dynamics and working on dynamics. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!